Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia, and I thought we could talk a little bit about variants in the MCU. Well, as many of you know, Marvel's new multiverse storyline is in full swing. They actually first teased us with the possibilities of a multiverse back at Endgame, but the concept was eventually fully embraced once we got to Loki. Since then, we've seen all kinds of interesting things happen in the MCU, with multiple versions of Spider-Man in Spider-Man No Way Home, followed by multiple versions of the Sorcerer Supreme in Multiverse of Madness. Now for fans, this has been quite a lot of fun, and they really enjoyed the variations on the characters, but there has been a bit of inconsistencies. So far we've met two totally different versions of Peter Parker. Now we know why as fans, they're from different movie universes, but how is this manifesting in the Marvel universe? We also had different versions of Loki, but the Doctor Strange variants all looked exactly alike. This has begged fans to ask a lot of questions about why some variants look different and some don't. During a recent interview, Marvel Studios producer Richie Palmer sat down and talked a little bit with Empire magazine, and he was asked why some variants look different and some variants look exactly the same. What he had to say was pretty interesting and does give us a peek into what's going on. He said, "The Lokis are different, the Spider-Men are different. We have story reasons that Michael Waldron and I can talk about for an hour about why it makes sense for characters like Loki, who is inherently a chaotic being. That was always Michael's thing. Loki is pure chaos, so it makes sense to him in the grand calculus of the multiverse. On the multiversal spectrum, he would be one that looks like different people." If you go to the Spider-Verse comics, or even what it was in the early 2000s, there was the start of this idea that just these other spider figures out there in our multiverse, or the multiverse, and it wasn't always Peter's. It wasn't always people who look like Peter. I looked at the comic, and I actually think it makes sense to me, as comic fans, why Peters might look different. I think there's room for even the most stalwart characters, like Steve Rogers, to maybe not look like Chris Evans. I think there is room as you move further away from the main timeline, from the main universe. I think it depends on the character, it depends on the actor, it depends on, frankly, the medium we're telling the story. Now this is a pretty big quote, and I think we should think about this pretty deeply. Now, I think for the most part, the response to the MCU's take on the multiverse has been mixed with some fans. Let's be fair, it's delivered some absolute incredible moments on screen, and it's making a ton of money at the box office, but some things have been a little bit confusing. Now, the general assumption is this is all building to something very specific, and that would be Secret Wars. And I have to say, when you listen to the last part of that quote, I think he kind of reveals that. I think part of Marvel's long-term plan to enable recastings and reimagining of characters will use the multiverse as that mechanism. Once we step into Secret Wars, that's an opportunity for Marvel to look at all of these variants, maybe even recast some major roles like Captain America or Iron Man, and then bring the universe back together in a new cohesive world. This would allow them to gauge fan reception to some other recastings and move forward, and maybe even formulate plans for the next generation of heroes to move around. Quite honestly, I could totally see a Secret Wars that ended with a sort of rebooted Marvel universe where all the characters exist in this new world without a lot of explanation about why they may or may not look different, because the multiverse will have already explained this to fans. Now, we're going to have a little bit of time before Secret Wars comes out. It hasn't even been announced yet, so it's not really an official thing. But by the end of the multiverse arc from Marvel Studios, we should have a bit of an idea of what's going on, and Multiverse of Madness really did lay out a lot of plans. I do think Doctor Strange 3 is going to focus on incursions, and those incursions are going to be the key mechanism that drives the Secret Wars storyline. We're obviously going to cover the Marvel Multiverse pretty closely. It's going to be a mainstream of the Marvel Universe going forward, along with some other storylines to be fair, but it's not something anybody wants to miss, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and don't miss any of the updates. But until we know more, what do you guys think? How do you feel about variants from different worlds looking distinctly different? And do you think this is ultimately a plan by Marvel Studios to allow recasting of big characters without a lot of worry? I have to say, that would be pretty genius. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.